Welcome back to Wrestling World. A lot of big stories just dropped right now that has everyone talking. We got the confirmation that Renee Young is leaving the WWE in these next few weeks, and the news about the major job that Becky Lynch just lost. So let's get into today's wrestling news. Let's talk about the biggest story right now, and that is obviously Renee Young's departure from the WWE. Renee Young has been with the WWE since 2012. She started off having a small role in WWE's programming, but as the years went by, her talent really started to show. Her roles on WWE programming started to get bigger as well, from an ordinary backstage interviewer to the host of the kickoff shows, to a full-time Raw commentator, to the host of WWE Backstage. Renee Young completely took over, and she was the absolute perfect talent for that sort of role. If you needed a host or a main lead for a WWE program, Renee Young should have always been your first pick. She's just that amazing at what she does. WWE almost lost Renee Young several years ago. Since Renee is such a phenomenal talent, ESPN, one of the biggest sports organizations in the world, started to take notice of Renee and wanted to completely steal her away from WWE. It was reported several years ago that Renee was real close to leaving WWE at the time for ESPN, but she decided to stay with WWE at the last second. That close call of almost losing Renee Young back then is probably what woke WWE up and made them realize they should use her more, and that's exactly what happened. Renee Young just took over the WWE over the last few years and was involved with so much of their programming, even with her husband, Jon Moxley, being the face of WWE's biggest rival, AEW. Her working relationship with WWE seemed perfectly fine. Where things first started getting a little shaky was when Renee tested positive a few months ago. Renee went right to Twitter after she tested positive and made the news public to the world. Apparently, there was some rumors that some big names didn't like how Renee Young handled that and would have preferred if she never announced to the world that she tested positive, because that story really went viral. Renee Young testing positive took over the headlines that week because everyone just couldn't believe it. It was a big story, just like her leaving WWE will definitely be another big story. So did the positive test result announcement on Twitter really change their relationship? No one knows for sure, but that is one of the fan theories out there. Another question being asked is if Renee went through that whole AJ Lee sort of experience where her husband is basically at battle with WWE, but you're still employed by WWE and you're still working for them every week. AJ Lee has gone on record for how weird that backstage feeling was for her. So it just makes you wonder if Renee Young ever felt that same sort of way ever since Jon Moxley and AEW started to take so many jabs at WWE. So let's talk about the popular rumor that will probably be here a lot in the coming weeks, and that's if Renee will be joining AEW. That's probably everyone's number one guess, because they're saying, well, her husband is in AEW and she's gone from WWE, so she's going there, right? Well, not necessarily. Renee to AEW is not locked in right now by any means. Remember what we talked about before. There's been a lot of companies over the years that have been trying to steal Renee from WWE. So it's possible that she just received an opportunity that she just couldn't refuse. Is it an opportunity to work for ESPN? Maybe Fox Sports? No one knows. The list of possibilities is endless. Renee Young also just finished her first cooking book not too long ago. So could it be an opportunity regarding the book? There's just so many possibilities for where Renee Young could be going next. But to leave the WWE after 8 years, you know it has to be something huge. That's why she decided to leave WWE. Renee Young will be greatly missed. It will definitely feel like something is missing with her being gone. Renee Young leaving is a massive hit for WWE, but they still have some great talent for that same sort of backstage hosting role. First name that comes to mind is Charlie Caruso. Charlie is really starting to take over on that same sort of role that we saw Renee Young have over the last 8 years. Charlie is even working double time for WWE and she also works as a moderator for ESPN's First Take. So she's already working double duty and doing an amazing job at everything she does. So no one can really replace that talent that Renee Young was for WWE. But if there's anyone that can really step in and try to fill that gap, it's definitely going to be Charlie. She can definitely hold her own in that same sort of role. Big things are obviously coming for Renee Young, so we'll have to see what path her career takes after leaving WWE. Now, we have another update to Becky Lynch regarding some of the major jobs and roles she lost recently. Obviously, we know just how hard of a pregnancy this has been for Becky Lynch. Becky and Seth have both talked about it a lot over the last few months. Due to the state of the world and the pandemic, Becky Lynch is basically trapped at home all day, every day, and it hasn't been a pleasant experience by any means. Seth Rollins recently spoke with People magazine this week and revealed some more new information about what Becky Lynch lost. With this, it was just like she has the busiest year of her life, and then bam, shut down, done. You can't do your work anymore, and bam, Hollywood is shut down. No meetings because of the pandemic. So that's all out of the window too. She's the hardest working person I've ever met, so she always wants to be productive. That's what gives her the purpose on a day-to-day basis. So it's been crazy for her, but she found some cool things that hopefully she'll be able to share in the future. So we did hear Seth Rollins talk about how miserable Becky Lynch was at home in a few interviews over the last few months. But the new information Seth revealed here was the news about Becky's roles in Hollywood. Becky Lynch making a big impact in Hollywood was a rumor we heard at the start of the year. Apparently, a lot of big directors loved her energy and how she connected with fans so easily. It was even being rumored that Marvel had their eyes on her as well. Becky Lynch did film some cameo appearances before her pregnancy and before the shutdown, so those acting appearances are slowly starting to come out. But according to Seth Rollins, it seems like Becky had a lot of meetings set up for Hollywood, but all of that is on hold right now with all the obstacles that are now in her way. So that's just so unfortunate, and it really must be terrible to have nothing to do for the time being. But we'll see what opportunities Becky Lynch can get into after her pregnancy and after things lighten up a bit. I personally love the Marvel idea. I think Becky absolutely has the charisma, the look, and the overall vibe to fit right in with a superhero film. So I would love to see that happen as well, but we'll have to keep an eye out. As Becky revealed a few weeks ago, her due date is set for December, so she's almost there. It's definitely been a long, hard journey for her during this era. What are your thoughts on Renee Young leaving WWE? Do you think there's a chance that she'll actually show up on AEW? What do you think of Becky Lynch losing all of the Hollywood opportunities as well? Leave your comments. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingWorldCC. Thanks for watching, guys.